All right, I'm going to get started. It's 6:02. Thank you to all the participants some are still popping in. This is our second to last webinar for our Maker curriculum, and we're super excited to have some brand new people presenting this time, so you guys don't have to listen to my voice for an entire hour. I'm very honored and pleased to introduce you to John Mahood, the owner and chief strategist of Imagebox. They are the creative geniuses behind the Handmade Arcade virtual marketplace. They've done the design and the development, and they have been putting up with my special kind of crazy for weeks now. So I am super pleased and excited to turn it over to them, and they're gonna talk to you about a whole bunch of stuff that I don't understand and I'm very excited to learn about. So I'm passing it off to you, John. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so my name is John Mahood, and I own a little company in Garfield called Imagebox, and we've been working with Trisha for several months now on helping her take the Handmade Arcade virtual. So we have a new website coming very, very soon. Most of you have already gotten your invites and started to log in and create your accounts, and hopefully you'll have products in there soon, and this is going to be very exciting. But today we're going to focus on search engine optimization, how to drive traffic to your page on Handmade Arcade, but also your own website and to your own e-commerce store if you have one, and get people to you know, sort of interact with you and interact with your products and interact with everything you're up to. So I'm not going to control today's meeting. I'd like to introduce Cory Bosket. Cory is our search and content specialist at Imagebox, and he's prepared tonight's presentation. I will say that we have about 40 slides to go through, so that might take a minute, but what we want to do is make this more of a conversation. So we're going to follow you through the questions and answers and things that you put in the chat. Please stop us at any time if you want us to focus on something a little longer. And we may or may not get to every slide, but what I want to do is really focus on, you know, you guys and where you are and what you're trying to accomplish and what questions you have and what problems you're facing, and focus on those things. And because tonight it's about you and not all about us. So Cory, I'm going to let you just kind of take it over, and I'll try to moderate questions when as they come in here. So,
Before you start, I just want to let everyone who's watching know that we are going to share the PDF tomorrow. So if you miss something, don't worry. We will have the recording and the PDF on the website, hopefully tomorrow. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, John and Trisha, for the intro. And without further ado, we'll just kind of dive right in because we have a lot of material to work through today. So let's just get to it. So today we have Let Your Website Work For You, Understanding SEO and Other Analytics to Increase Conversion. So to start all of this off, we'll kind of just get into search engine optimization, kind of the foundation of all of this. So what is search engine optimization? It's basically the way that your website or your page is found in search. Simply having a website is frankly not enough anymore with how competitive the web has become. Even more so since we've all been in lockdown and the internet is the main way of driving a lot of traffic to businesses, small and large in this time. So search engine optimization is basically your way of capturing a bigger audience, capturing more eyes, and driving more people to your website or page so you can then in turn generate more sales. So what does SEO actually mean? So if you want to break down SEO into three things, you can kind of break it down into the quality of traffic, basically making sure that you're attracting the right kind of users to your website. The quantity of traffic, again, making sure that you're getting the largest volume of the right people clicking through your website. And then the organic results. So basically, there's two kind of results that appear in any search, whether you're using Google, Bing, or Yahoo. Those are divided into organic or paid. Search engine optimization focuses mostly on organic results, meaning that you are not paying Google to drive clicks to your website. You're not paying Yahoo or Bing. You're basically driving them organically through the content and quality of content that you're putting out into the world.
One thing I'd like to add here too is that there's a lot of copy on each of these slides, and there's a reason for that, because we want you to take this with you as kind of a guide to help you after this meeting. So if you're busy scrambling, writing notes, don't worry so much about that. This deck will be available to you after tonight's meeting for reference. So just wanted to add that. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Cory.
SEO is a very content-heavy subject, as you will find out throughout this presentation. Content is ultimately the driver of SEO and this presentation. So there's a lot of information to work with here. I will be buzzing through as quickly as we can, just because I know we do only have an hour, but as John said, all of this will be available to you for any references you need. And we also provide some tools at the end you can refer to. So
I'm ready for those questions as they come up too.
Yes.
I have no questions yet, so just saying, you can ask questions.
So to get a little better understanding of how SEO works, it's important to understand how search engine works. So any search engine you use will basically send a crawler, bot, spider, bear. Those are terms used interchangeably throughout the web. So a search engine will basically send those bots to your website. And what those bots do is they take a look at your website content and try to create an index of what that content is all about. So search engine optimization is ultimately making sure we're sending the right signals to those bots, spiders, robots, whatever you want to call them, to make sure that at the end of the day, your content page is aligning with a specific search query that someone is entering into a search bar. So as you can see, there's a lot of factors that kind of go into the ranking of search engine pages. Everything from social media metrics to the page authority, which is basically how trustworthy your website is. Keyword usage, which is a topic that comes up in SEO a lot that we'll be going over a lot more in depth today, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things here that are easy to affect and a lot of things that are a little more difficult to affect. We're going to focus more on the low-hanging fruit today and the things that you can do that are very easy to help you rank a lot better in the search engine. Go ahead, Cory.
Correct. So now that we kind of covered the search engine part of it, let's get into the optimization part of it. So that's kind of where we are, again, writing the content in the best way possible to kind of satisfy the search query and deliver the information that people are looking for in search, so that when they're coming to our page, we're making sure that we're getting them to the right page and giving them the results that they're looking for, rather than clicking a result and then immediately going back to the search results because they couldn't find what they were ultimately after. So optimization can take many forms, but for the most part, it's divided into two things. That's on-site SEO, which mostly deals with keywords, the content on your website, and some technical code that's in the back end of the website. And there's also off-site SEO, which includes the relevance of your website, the trustworthiness of the website, and the authority, being basically, are you an expert on this material? Are you considered a quote unquote thought leader by the Google search engine bot? So on-site SEO, the goal of that is to make it as easy as possible for search engines and users ultimately to understand what your website is about, identify that page as a relevant to a search query or queries, and find a page of useful information that's worthy of ranking in a search engine results page. The important note here is to make sure that both search engines and users are getting the goal. In the past, a lot of SEO tactics dealt primarily with tricking the search engine into ultimately ranking your page higher. There was various tactics of doing this. They're now referred to as black hat tactics. Those tactics included keyword stuffing or buying links, or basically like spamming your website link to Reddit or other forums. That's looked down upon and even penalized by Google now. So that is something to avoid. At the end of the day, you want to write so a human being is understanding and can easily get an understanding of what you're all about.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too by saying, worry, even though we're talking all about SEO today and we're talking all about bots today, worry a little bit less about the bots and worry about the people that are actually typing these keywords into search, the people that are looking for you, the people that you meet all the time that buy your wares, your best and long-standing customers. How would you speak to them? What words would you put into your website that they would type into search engines to find you? And then when they get there, type in sentences and paragraphs for them that they can get behind, that they'll love. Worry less about the bot and worry about great content for the people you're trying to sell.
Yep, and that's kind of what this slide actually gets into a lot more. Thank you for perfectly transitioning into it, John. So yeah, modern on-site SEO is a lot less about keyword repetition and making sure those keywords are in the right places, and a lot more about understanding who your users are, what they're looking for. And another way to think of keywords is honestly what topics you can create content about that best fulfills their needs, being their need of making a purchase, finding that right Christmas gift, anything that they would enter into that search bar relating to your business. You want to make sure that the content you're creating is helping fulfill that need. Oh, did I skip something? No. Okay. Yeah. So there's a couple of ways you can kind of check to make sure the content you're writing and your page is fulfilling all of the on-site SEO tactics and metrics. So first is your content in depth? Is it thorough? Does it like get the point across? Are you using enough words on the page to kind of get the user to understand who you are, what you're all about, and why it matters to them? User-friendly? Is the content readable? Does it match their intent? Is the website you have easily organized, and can people kind of find the information that they're looking for within like 2 to 3 clicks rather than trying to dig through every single thing on the website? And unique. So you don't want to use duplicate content anywhere throughout the web. That's a big no-no on Google. So you want to make sure that the content you're writing and creating is something unique to your business or your craft. So to get a little bit more into keywords, as I wrote here, they're the backbone of on-site SEO. So you can think of the keywords and phrases that you're using are like little beacons of light that search engines and searchers that are bringing searchers to your website ultimately. So good quality keywords are one of the most efficient ways to attract consistent quality traffic to your website. The biggest thing you want to do here is try to come up with a list of anywhere from 10 to 15 highly targeted keywords and put those keywords in heavy rotation on your blog, on your website content pages, in your product descriptions, and just when you're posting to social media. So you can send those little beacons of light to the searchers and make sure that you're getting the right kind of users to your website. So there are a couple of ways to think when you're kind of thinking about picking this keyword list. The first advice that we've kind of already kind of harped on a little bit is to think like a buyer. Use the same words that the people searching for you or your customers are using. Try to avoid industry jargon or something that you would use when describing your products to another maker. A good way to think of this is select the keywords that you would describe your business to your mom with, or like if you were telling your mom what you do, that's what you want to be including on your website. Another tip is to pick your battles. As we mentioned before, competition is fierce and it's only getting fiercer. A way to kind of counteract that is to use long tail keywords to help narrow the search intent. So long tail keywords are, instead of using a keyword such as like Pittsburgh artist, you would want to be like Pittsburgh caricature artist or Pittsburgh sticker maker, like something a little bit more in depth and more specific to user intent. At the end of the day, while this keyword may not have as much volume as some of the Pittsburgh artist keywords or the harder, more competitive keywords, it will also help make sure that you're attracting those high quality users who are directly in line with what you're offering.
So be specific.
Yeah, be specific. Another tip, look for low hanging fruit. If you can like be as specific and unique again to your business, then you want to target that, because ultimately you'll come out on top if the keywords that you are targeting are unique to your business and brand. And then cast a wide net. Like, don't hesitate to try to think big and try keywords for people who are searching for things related to what you offer. So if a good example of this is at Imagebox, we offer Pittsburgh web design, but at the same time, we have a lot of people coming us to marketing. So we target a lot of marketing keywords because Pittsburgh web design is a little more competitive, but marketing keywords we can kind of target a little bit more. So again, keywords cover just one of the several on-site tactics. We've included some other ones here. So link usage is also looked at. speed of your website and how fast a page loads on your website is very important. Mobile friendliness and user friendliness has increased in priority in Google a lot in recent years. So making sure that your website is mobile friendly and that no one's waiting like 10 seconds for a page to load is probably the second most important thing, I would say, behind keyword usage on a website. So that leads us into offsite SEO. So offsite SEO is basically anything you do outside of the realm of your website to improve your search engine ranking. It basically has to deal with the perception of your website's popularity, how relevant your website is to the search, how trustworthy your website is, and again, are you that kind of thought leader or authority on the topic that you are targeting? So at the heart of this, just as we had keywords at the heart of on-site SEO, backlinks are kind of the heart of off-site SEO. There are three types of backlinks. Those are considered natural, which are basically anytime someone just randomly, like let's say you have a happy customer and they link to your website without any ask or any request from you to link to your website. That is considered a natural link by Google. Manual is a little bit more deliberate link building. So you're reaching out to customers or any influencer marketing that you might be doing along the way and trying to get them to link to your website, link to your social media accounts, anything that you're partnering with someone or like kind of taking an action to build that link. And then self-created, that's a little bit more of the black hat tactic that we talked about earlier, where you're creating those backlinks in directories, forums, and press releases. It's important to be careful here because while there are good ways to do this, some of those good ways include like using local directories such as Yelp or like a Google My Business page or a Google brand page. A lot of them can be seen as some of these black hat spammy tactics. So you just want to make sure you're being careful when you're doing the self-created links here. Again, some other offsite tactics we have are social media marketing. So anything you do on Facebook or Twitter that is bringing people back to your website, that is considered an offsite SEO tactic. Guest blogging, anytime you're kind of being featured in a local magazine or by a local blogger that they're linking back to your website. Linked and unlinked brand mentions, and influencer marketing, which we discussed. So what can you do specifically on the maker page on the Handmade Arcade website that you were just kind of all given access to? So one of the biggest names in WordPress SEO and general web SEO is the Yoast SEO plugin. The goal of Yoast is to basically make it easy for the common person to optimize their website and help them rank for certain keywords that they would like to rank for. The main three areas on the specific maker pages for the Handmade Arcade website that you guys have here is with the title tag, the meta description, and the social card. And we'll explain those right here. So this is kind of what you'll see when you log into your individual maker page on the website. When you scroll to the bottom of the content field, you'll have a little toolbar here that says the Yoast SEO plugin. It will start off with this SEO tab, which is the title tag and meta description. Another good way to think of this is think of it as writing a very short ad for your page. In your title, you want to be targeting some of those high valued keywords that you discovered that match your user intent. And then the description is basically your chance to sell it to the Google user. As you can see, like it will give you a preview of what it looks like in the Google search as you type. Social cards are basically establishing how those links will appear when they're shared to social media. So if you create these social cards, you can select the image. Again, you can add a title and a description, and that will, anytime someone shares your link, that's kind of the auto-populated feature that happens on both Facebook and Twitter.
So Cory, I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Number one is how long is all of this going to take me? It sounds like it's starting to sound like a lot of work and a lot of thinking and you know, honestly, I'm about willing to put in about an hour into this, and then I'm kind of done. So what would you recommend I do in that hour?
I would recommend in that hour, you take some time to think about how customers are finding you. When you have a customer come up to you and describe, if you had some of your top customers describe your business back to you or what your product is back to you, that's the keywords you want to be targeting. I would focus on those keywords. And again, the quickest things you can do are kind of applying that title tag and that meta description to your pages on your website. And at the end of the day, if you only have an hour, the title tag, meta description, and making sure kind of your page is mobile friendly and user friendly is probably the most important thing you can do. The second most important thing that I would suggest doing is making sure that your content is up to snuff. Just making sure it's in depth, making sure it's thorough, making sure that it's answering all of the questions anyone could have when coming across your business or your product. Yeah, that's probably the two things I would recommend doing if you only had an hour. If you had a little bit more time and you had your own website, the best top thing you can be doing for SEO or search engine optimization and to make sure that you're being found in search consistently and regularly is blogging. You want to make sure that you are blogging. Even if you can only do it once a month, that's fine. You want to make sure that you're basically putting out content on a regular routine basis. And basically that will kind of cement your position as a thought leader, an expert, the go-to source of information for your desired product, field, whatever you have.
Got it. And I was just thinking about that. Yeah, I guess I could do a little more time, but even like writing a blog sounds like a very time-consuming thing to me as well. And you know, what tricks would you say? I was just thinking of one that we could come up with that makes blog writing a little easier. One I was thinking of was, hey, just have a friend of yours ask you questions about what you do and about the work that you make and about why people should care about it, and have them maybe just record it on their phone and really just sort of transcribe that interview and make it into a blog post. And if you do kind of a Q&A interview with your friend weekly, you can transcribe that into a blog post and you have a quick, you know, weekly blog post that's probably pretty interesting, especially if you pick a different person every week, or even maybe once a month would be good, every month to ask you these questions. So that might be an easy way to get blogging done, because that too can sound scary and time consuming.
Definitely. And like, as you said, the Q&A is a really good one and a really easy one to knock out of the way. Another really easy one, especially for in the maker field to knock out of the way, is basically just document your process. Like, how do you create what you're creating from start to finish? You might think no one cares about that, but ultimately search engines care about it. And it not only shows that you're creating that regular, consistent content, but it also kind of shows off that you are an expert because you know what you're doing. You're the one creating it at the end of the day. And it's a really easy way to kind of take people into a behind the scenes look of your process. And again, include some of those targeted keywords that you want to rank for.
I think this might be a good time for me to interject that if you're not signed up for this Thursday's final webinar, writing creative content or creating creative content, I can't remember what it's called. Now is a good time to go to our website and sign up for that, because that we will also talk about blog writing and social media content, which can help you in this process.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
Well, I was going
John.
to say, yeah, good idea, because, you know, without content, SEO can't happen. So, you know, what Google really reads is those words, just like people do, except more like a program doing it. But without those words and without telling that story, there's nothing to optimize in search engine optimization. So, yeah, so this goes, well, Tricia said, this goes hand in hand with that next workshop, because we're telling you how to optimize that content, but getting it actually written is the first great key step. So go ahead, Cory.
Yeah, another way to say it is search engine marketing is ultimately content marketing. They're two terms used intermittently. They describe slightly different things, but at the end of the day, they serve the same purpose. And that purpose is to drive people to your website so your website can convert. And speaking of conversions, we will kind of help you track how your website is performing and if your website is driving those conversions with this next section. This next section of our presentation is all about Google Analytics. I'm not sure how many of you are currently using Google Analytics. Sometimes we have people in these presentations that are familiar or that have opened the dashboard and quickly get overwhelmed, which is really easy to do if you've ever been inside Google Analytics. But at the end of the day, Google Analytics, when you know what you're doing and you know what to look for, is one of the best ways that you can kind of track the performance of your website.
So one more thing, I promise I keep interrupting. I'm sorry, but I wanted to say to the makers, this is really important. Please, please pay attention to this, because when the event is over and I send you that super important survey of how did we do and how did you sell, and can you tell me what your link tracking was from the Handmade Arcade Virtual Marketplace to your website, I believe this part will help you figure that out. Am I right, Cory?
Yep, you should be able to kind of track, if you have a website of your own, you should be able to track very clearly how many people came from the Handmade Arcade website to your website.
Yep, and the other thing I would say here too, Cory, is if at some point you feel you need to hop into Google Analytics, and I mean, you can share our account, I don't care. But you know, you need to like look at something or show some visuals here. You know, go ahead and do that if you think it's necessary.
I might have you load our thing just because I'm on full screen, but if you want to load the Imagebox Google Analytics at some point, maybe if we have some time at the end, I can kind of show specifically where we would find how many people are coming to your website from specifically the Handmade Arcade website and where they would find that.
Got it. And I will say some applications, if you're on Squarespace or Shopify or things like that, have their own analytics set up in there. So they'll tell you some higher level things, usually not as in-depth as Google Analytics, but you can get some information as to where people are coming from and what people are searching for. Go ahead and continue there, Cory. Yeah, I'll have that on standby.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so Google Analytics is a free tool that Google provides that helps you understand how people find your website and ultimately what they do when they're on your website. It gives you a complete picture of your website's performance and provides an incredibly wide range of data that you can use to kind of edit your website and even optimize your website to make sure that it's fulfilling those search needs and that people are finding what they are after on your website. So why Google Analytics, you might be asking? It's an easy way to, again, find out how many people are visiting your website, where those people live, what are the most popular pages on your website, how many of those visitors converted into sales ultimately, where the people that ultimately purchased from you are coming from or how they're driven to your website, and where did they go once they're on your website, and basically tracking the whole buyer's journey from their first pages they visit to every page that they looked at along the way to checking out in that cart. So if you haven't got started in Google Analytics, it's an easy sign up process. We've included some, quick instructions here that you can follow along on your own. As John said, with Shopify and Squarespace and other platforms, there are various ways to kind of set up that tracking code in Google Analytics. They provide pretty decent instructions on how to kind of insert that code into the website backends once you're there. So when you log into Google Analytics, the first thing you see is a dashboard. You can create custom dashboards and have up to 20 of them, but the default dashboard will give you a quick view of how many people visited your website, how many people are actively using your website. It gives you some insights on areas to improve or just kind of highlights of metrics that stand out. The traffic sources, which means how those people are finding your website, being organic, social, direct, or referral, a visitor's overview, and a content overview. So this is kind of where Google Analytics gets a little bit more tricky. When you're on Google Analytics, John, it might make sense for you to bring up our Google Analytics right now, just so we can kind of show them that dashboard and where to find these individual reports that we're about to dive into.
Cool. Hang on one second and I will pull that up. Okay. Well, I'm almost there. I'm not sure why it's showing me all the screens except the one I need. Hang on.
Yeah, so the page that John is about to bring up is kind of where it gets overwhelming for people when they log into Google Analytics, because at the end of the day, there is a lot of information to digest. And as we said, it can be a little overwhelming if you don't know where to go to what you're looking for. So this is the page, this is the dashboard that we just discussed, where it gives you kind of the traffic channels, all of the like main, oh, yep, go for it.
Where's in here, right? There it is.
It should be. It's, yeah, www.
Do you want my view or imagebox.com?
My view should work. Yeah, so this is the dashboard page that you will kind of fall into once you have your Google Analytics account up and running. As you can see, it gives you kind of a quick snapshot of the audience. It gives you, if you scroll down the page, John, a little bit, it gives you some insights, the traffic channels, how many active users are coming, how well those users are retained. As you can see, again, a lot of information.
These are the most popular pages on your website and how many views those have gotten. So you can see, for example, here, which are your most popular products, for example, on your site.
Yeah.
And you can dig in over here.
Yeah, so this is the next section that I actually wanted to dive into. Can you collapse to that menu real quick, John? So the way that Google Analytics divides all of the data that is being collected is into these reports. So we have the real-time report, the audience report, the acquisition report, the behavior report, and the conversions report. I will say that Google Analytics has just recently released a new version because they are constantly updating things and keeping us on our toes. I think it was maybe a month ago, Google Analytics 4 came out. It's all the same data. It's just organized in a slightly different way, but those 4 reports still exist, being audience acquisition, behavior, and conversions. All right, I'm gonna take back over the screen, John, if you don't mind. All right, so the first report that is in that list is the real-time report. That's basically a way to figure out what's happening on your website as you're looking at the data. So it's kind of good if you are trying to see how much traffic you're getting from a new social media post or a blog post that you just put up. It's a good way to tell if your one-day sale or a quick event or a new product launch is driving views and conversions. And it's a good way to kind of make sure that your any conversions or custom events or tracking URLs that you might be kind of trying to set up, that's a good way to troubleshoot to make sure those are firing correctly. The next report section is the audience report. So obviously this gives you a deep dive into who is coming to your website. It lets you know who's coming to the website, if they are new or returning visitors, what type of devices they're coming to your website on, be it a phone, tablet, desktop, and just kind of what the general demographics of those visitors are.
So here's a question everybody asks Cory, and I know the answer, but so I want to know exactly who's visiting my website and how long they spent there, and I want to send them an email.
Well, you should install CRM. But yeah, Google Analytics, because of privacy concerns and issues, I will tell you 2 things that Google Analytics will not tell you. It will not tell you their name. It will not tell you their email. It will also no longer tell you the exact keyword that they use to find your website because of, again, a privacy concern issue. That's probably one of the most common questions that people have when they start using Google Analytics is they want to know what keywords are driving the most traffic to their website. There are tools you can use that we will review at the end of the presentation of how you can kind of combine a set of tools together to kind of get an idea of what keywords are driving people, but Google Analytics will not tell you specifically what keywords are driving visitors to your website.
Cory, can you take a minute, if you're going to do this in the next couple of slides, that's okay, but can you take a minute and do like a quick explanation what a CRM is? Because that was brought up in our last webinar and some folks were like, these are words I've never heard before afterwards.
Yeah, of course.
So that would be
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah. And John, feel free to chime in here too, because I know this is some of your area expertise as well. So CRM is basically a customer relationship management software. They can vary from everything from, I believe even people like MailChimp have one now that they've released. That's probably the most commonly used one, I'm assuming, now that they've released theirs. But they vary.
MailChimp, I should say about MailChimp too, is as of only the last two, MailChimp's been around for 20 years almost, or so, but only the last 2 years have they really focused on e-commerce. So they've really focused on small e-commerce stores and how you can better connect with customers, how you can send special emails to just the people that have bought something or to just the people that have bought out of a certain category or a certain number of times. So there's a lot of tools in MailChimp, and MailChimp is pretty affordable, meaning that you're going to pay maybe $25, $35 a month rather than something like a HubSpot, which has for years been the king of CRM, but you might be paying $400 a month or $1,000 a month. So, getting started with something like MailChimp is a great place to start.
Yeah, and to get a little bit more into CRM, so customer relationship management. So ultimately what it does is it kind of helps you identify the people coming into your website. Usually the way you do that is by either completing a sale and capturing their email, or like having them sign up for a newsletter download, or just something like stay in touch, like sign up, email sign up, some way of capturing their email and name. And then once you capture their email and name, they are identified as a user of your website. And the CRM will, depending on, again, which one you use, it will track what pages they visited on your website, what days they visited those pages. If you are using email marketing in kind of at the same time as you're using the CRM, it will tell you what emails they opened, what links they clicked in that email, what emails they didn't open, so on and so forth. So it's a good way of like kind of getting that big picture view of the entire customer journey, and just making sure you're staying on top of who's coming to your website, what is bringing them to your website, and what are they looking at on your website, if you want that specific name and email address that John was talking about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so it's a lot of all the analytics are like trends of what's going on your website. Due to privacy, and you wouldn't want anybody giving up your information either, they can't tell you specifically who these people are on an individual basis. But you can tell a lot of trends. Are people coming to the website? Where are they coming from? You can even get it down to zip code where they're coming. Are my people coming from the North Hills or from Hawaii? And you can find out information like that. How long do they spend on the website? How long do they spend on each page? Are they watching my videos? Everything. It's just only who they are. And to Cory's point about the CRM, is you'll see on a lot of websites it says, things like sign up for our newsletter, or click here to download this free, printed gift or something. Anything that you can do to kind of pull that email address yourself by offering them a free newsletter or free how to make something or how to do something, or any kind of content where they have to put in their email. And especially in e-commerce, if they buy something, you get their email. So the goal is with a lot of marketing is to, how do I get their email? But Google's not just going to give it to you. You got to work for it, which means give them some reason to buy, or even some reason to give you their email without buying. What can we give them for free so that email address goes into our system? Because now we can market to people once we have them in our email.
And again, you can kind of begin to get the glimpse of how this all ties together, because ultimately some of those like ways that you would capture their email is by creating valuable content, high quality content that then ties to your SEO ranking and helps you do better in search engines. So the whole world of CRM, analytics, SEO is kind of all intertwined in digital marketing. All right, so let's dive back in. So the next report we have is acquisition. This is where you would find out, again, how many people are coming from the Handmade Arcade website, how many people are clicking that link and then going over to your website. So it's, again, how many users are coming from each channel, When they get to your website, what does that behavior look like, and how many conversions did each channel contribute? And John, I'm not sure if we should bring it up now and kind of review that specific bit of information, or if we should wait till the end, but I think now might be a good time, just in case we do run out of time and people need to jump off.
Okay.
So if you want to open up the acquisition report specifically.
Yep, here we go. Overview.
So if you go into all traffic, and then if you go to source/medium. So if you scroll down, that will kind of give you what websites are driving people to your websites. So you can see for us, the best, the number one we have here is we're being found the most in organic search, which is actually pretty good for us. So good job, John.
Yay.
Typically, you're going to find out that direct is the most common. But as you can see, so we have this flawlessbeautyandskin.com referral. That's because at the bottom of all the websites we create for people, we include a made by Imagebox logo. We typically find that these logos get like a lot of clicks. So that referral from flawlessbeautyandskin.com is someone clicking that logo at the bottom of their site and then coming over to our site.
Yeah,
so if you wanted to see how,
yeah.
So if you wanted to see how many people were coming in specifically from the Handmade Arcade website, what you would do is you would go to this report and you would see something like handmadearcade.org and then it'd say /referral.
Yeah. And then it would tell you exactly how many people came in from that that site to yours.
And as for like these users, new users, sessions, bounce rates, paid session, all of that lingo, a little bit further down in our presentation, we probably won't have time to review every single word, but we do have kind of a basic glossary of terms where you can understand those, again, how you would describe it to your mom. I've actually tested it by reading those descriptions to my mom and making sure she knew what I was talking about.
Did she know what you were talking about?
She did, so it passed.
Okay.
It got two mom thumbs up.
I think your mom's smart.
She must be. I've explained to my mom 1,000 different ways what I'm trying to do with the marketplace, and she still doesn't get it. So.
She's on the savvy side, so she you know, she has an iPad. She gets it.
All right, tell me if you want me to open this back up, Cory.
Yeah, will do. Let me get back to mine. All right. So the next report we have in that kind of going through the order list is the behavior. And this is where you can kind of find out how the content is performing on your website. It's where you go to find what pages or products are the most popular on your website, and ultimately how someone's moving from kind of looking at a page to making a purchase. I'm not sure if it makes sense to bring up ours here, John, because we don't really have a marketplace on our website, but I don't know. What do you think?
I'm happy to, if you think it helps illustrate what the point you're trying to make, I'm happy to pull it up.
So yeah, if you wouldn't mind bringing it back up once more, just so we can kind of review that, because that's probably one of the more important reports specifically for the maker audience, is finding the path that people are taking to get from point A to point B on your website. So if you go to behavior, and then if you click that behavior flow, so this is kind of basically a flowchart of how people are visiting your website and what pages they're going to. So that landing page, a landing page in Google Analytics definition is any page that people are kind of finding first when visiting your website. So as you can see, the most popular page for us, and it will be for many of you, is that homepage. The homepage is ultimately probably the first page that a lot of people will go to. So
that's why it says slash with nothing after it, like these texts?
Yes, that is correct.
So that's the home.
Yeah, so as you kind of make your way through this chart, you see that slash, we had people drop off after visiting the homepage, but some people went on to another interaction. Some people went to the team page. Other people went to this 12 things, something, that's a blog post we wrote. We had a few people check out our case studies directly from the homepage. A few more people looked at some of the web services we offer. And then we even had some people come in looking for a job. So, and as you kind of make your way through this chart, John, if you wouldn't mind just sliding a little bit over, or clicking and dragging, I believe you might have to click and drag it.
Drag, okay.
Yep. So as you can see, this kind of flow chart happens all the way through until everyone in the website eventually drops off or stops looking at it. And this would be a way to kind of just track how people are landing on the cart, or like what pages they're visiting along the way to finishing a purchase or making to that thank you page, whatever you have set up as like kind of the order confirmation page.
Want me to flip back?
Yep, I'm flipping back.
Okay. And I'm waiting for that barrage of questions, so don't be shy.
So the last one, hold on. So one of the last reports that Google Analytics offers is the conversions report. And that's kind of just tracking the specific actions that visitors take and how effective your website is at getting people to those actions. Those actions can be anything from watching a video or scrolling for a certain time down the page or staying on a certain page for a certain amount of time. But ultimately, probably what you guys will want to be tracking is how many people are checking out, adding things to a cart, and ultimately purchasing an item. The conversions report is how you would set that up and track those metrics.
So question on that, Cory, is actually setting up the conversions to work with my e-commerce platform, is that hard to do or relatively easy, or do I need to find an expert, or how does that work?
To set it up in like a Shopify or Squarespace like marketplace platform, it shouldn't be hard. I believe both of those platforms kind of offer you a simple like step-by-step 1, 2, 3 of how you would kind of tie that into Google Analytics to get you up and running relatively easy. And I believe, if I'm correct, Google Analytics 4 has actually made kind of tracking those, like these conversions, a lot more simply by automatically kind of assuming what the conversions are on your website and adding those to your thing without you having to take any actions to set that up at all.
Oh, that sounds awesome. So I wonder if Shopify and Squarespace and WordPress and WooCommerce and all these things are Google Analytics 4 ready, given that only came out like a month or so ago.
Right. I know that's still a work in progress, but in the little bit that I've played around with it, it's pretty intuitive, and like it's nice to have all of those conversions already pre-added rather than having to manually set up a cart purchase for each item or a visiting this page and staying on for a certain amount of time conversion.
Cool.
So another thing, and this is Google Analytics specific. I'm not sure if this is Google Analytics 4 specific yet because I haven't had a chance to play around with the e-commerce end of Google Analytics 4. But for e-commerce websites, Google Analytics offers a little bit more variety and like usage of how they're delivering conversion reports. And that's done through that enhanced e-commerce plugin. Now, this is something you may need to work with a developer or contact Squarespace or Shopify support for to kind of get all set up for you. But once you have it set up, it can kind of help you track the entire customer journey from arriving on your website to eventually purchasing and maybe even returning a product, and just kind of seeing that whole big picture glimpse at what a customer is doing on your website. So again, you can kind of track what products are being seen and clicked. You can record how users are initiating a checkout or if they're abandoning their carts at all. You can track coupon usage or any promotions that you might be offering, and what products are being added to carts, removed from carts, or completed with orders.
Got it. So Cory, I have 2 questions here.
Okay.
One is from Joyce. She asks us, can we personalize the reports to fine-tune the information given by Google Analytics? Primarily what Trisha will be looking for after the show. So yes, Trisha, someone's looking out. So do you get that question, and can you answer that?
Yeah, so what you can do, if you go to, on the account, on that dashboard, you can basically add any panel to that first page dashboard that you would like to. As I mentioned early on, you can have up to 20 custom dashboards. John, it might make sense for you.
I can pull that back up. Where do I go?
Yeah, so if you go to that customization panel,
Yeah.
Dashboards.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to go through in the create process, but if you click create, you can click the starter dashboard because that might even give us what we're looking for.
All right, this is Joyce's dashboard. If I can spell it. And I'm going to start with the starter. Okay.
Here's your sessions. Yeah, so scroll down a little bit. Scroll down. Scroll down. All right, the starter dashboard doesn't give it to it, so you'll have to go back. I'm sorry, John.
All right, so but I can add things in, right?
Yeah, hold on. I have
add widget.
Less blocking everything. Yeah, so if you go, yep, add widget. There you go. Yeah, so what you would do is you would kind of add the metric. The metric would be, I believe, referral.
Do I have to type that in or?
Oh, right. On show the following metric. If you search referral.
I don't know how to spell referral. I can't find referral in that metric. You want to go about this a different direction?
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to like
here. Can I pin it to the dashboard if I'm in these?
You may be able to, but I'm not sure.
So, okay, show me what referrals are.
If you go to acquisition, and then all traffic, and then source/medium.
Okay, and it's this.
Yeah, so this is like what you'd be looking for. It might be even source/medium is what the dimension they want you to enter into that one box. But I'm not sure if you click it, if it will add, no.
Okay, let's go back up here then. No, it's not there either. It's not, and it's not here.
No, that's adding segments. Yeah, I haven't used the widget adder because I've been using Google Data Studio for it a lot more often, which might even be. Yeah, if you try searching in.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Because there's only like 3 billion things here. Okay, well, let me move on to question 2 as well, and we can look at that on the side. So this is Daniel's question. Do you have any concrete examples of sites with good SEO content? I feel like every time I view one of these SEO webinars, there are never any examples. I need to see things to better understand them, which I get. So visual examples would be super helpful. So where can we go to see examples of really good SEO content or well-written?
You know what, let's go to, here, let me load up a page. Give me 1 second to open up a window on my own end. Well, for good SEO content, I will kind of take you to the end-all be-all source for all things SEO, Moz. They're basically, I would say, outside of Google themselves. John, feel free to chime in if you have others you prefer, but I would say Moz.
I totally agree with Moz, and I will say you're also answering the next question by Darren. He's saying, is there a good way to get a report of my website's overall SEO or an audit to see which keywords are working better than others or links, etc.?
Yes.
So that would lean right into Moz.
Yep, that would also be Moz. So Moz is like kind of Google's end-all be-all of anything SEO. if you have a question about SEO, Moz answers it. And that's kind of what makes it like the SEO. If you want to go, I'm pretty sure if you Google SEO or if you look up SEO, Moz probably comes up, if not #1 on most SEO keywords, at least probably within the top 5. They offer everything from this beginner's guide. As you can see, it's this giant guide. It goes through any question that any user of any website, like kind of person trying to optimize their website, it would go through any and all questions they could have or run into along the way. I'm pretty sure like when I first started off in like marketing, my like supervisor at the time, he basically gave me this beginner's guide and said, read this. And that was my first week, was reading this beginner's guide, going through everything Moz has to offer and say. So if you want to get a good example, like have a good example of what is working, specifically for probably the products you offer, if you type in a product that you offer or a keyword that you would like to target, take a look at the first 5 results that come up and take some time to read through the content they're putting out there, because if they're ranking up in the top 5, they're doing something right according to Google, and it's something that you should be trying to emulate and kind of not copy, because again, you want to be unique in what you're doing and make sure that it's unique to your brand and your business and your products, but just kind of get started in the right direction and get your head around what it should look like at the end of the day. Another common question that people have when they're talking about what makes good SEO content, one of the common questions that a lot of people have with that is word counts, which there is no right amount of words that a web page should have, or there is no right amount of words that a blog post should have. At the end of the day, what Google suggests is that you make sure you are writing enough to provide in-depth, thorough information to your users to make sure, again, that all of the questions they could possibly have are answered. This is why in a lot of cases, you'll see a lot of people's websites have like an FAQ page nowadays, because an FAQ page does a lot for SEO, and it specifically helps target some of those questions that anyone would enter into a search box and hopefully then would appear in a search result.
Great. Well, it's 7 o'clock almost. Is there any final questions or anything we didn't cover? Oh, and I will also say I did solve Joyce's issue, if we want to take 2 seconds and look at that. Basically, it had that little table of formats for your chart.
Oh, okay.
If we had the number selected, you have to select the table because that content comes in a table. So that's all I did wrong there.
Yeah, so let me just share one more slide if we are running out of time. And again, all this will be available to you at the end of the thing. So we do include some tools of how you can kind of use Google Analytics and SEO together. That beginner's guide to SEO that I just showed you guys on Moz, I've actually linked to in this presentation, because at the end of the day, they are the end-all be-all resource for all things SEO or any questions you could have. And as John mentioned, they're also a way to kind of track SEO performance on your website. We've included some tools you can use to kind of target some keywords and get your head around what keywords you should be looking for or targeting on your website. Some tools you can use to test your page speed and mobile friendliness, as well as some of those backlink checkers and everything else.
Yeah, and typically I'll say that any tool that says Google on it is free. And those that don't, even Moz has some free tools, but they also have some paid tools if you really want to dig. SEMrush has free tools and paid tools. So yeah, you can get real deep, and if you want to get real deep, they do charge a monthly fee, but that's for when your store gets to a point where it's totally worth it to know what's going on.
Yeah, every tool I did include on this list has at least some type of free version too. So you should be able to at least get some data, if not everything you're looking for from this list.
Great. Trisha, anything we didn't cover tonight that you want to make sure we got covered here?
No, I mean, I just want to reiterate to the makers who are here tonight, you know, we're all doing our best to learn a lot of information about pivoting from our in-person businesses to online businesses. So do not feel overwhelmed or stressed about this. This is like this is my first, you know, SEO webinar. This is many of yours. So, you know, we're not going to get it right. We're not going to be perfect. We have the event coming up. We're going to do our best, and we're going to, you know, Handmade Arcade is working really hard with some outside consultants to get a lot of traffic to the site. So, you know, you guys will, you know, hopefully do well, but don't, I know that this can seem like very overwhelming and super stressful. Don't let it stress you out. You know my theory, like, don't, like, just take a breath, make your products, do your best, and like, it's all gonna work itself out. And if we wanna revisit this, you know, Handmade Arcades, this maker curriculum isn't going anywhere. We can revisit this in January, have maybe another webinar where we can talk about it again, and, you know, maybe have some more like interactive question and answers after you've done one big marketplace with this. So we're, you know, we're still here to support you, and I will be sharing all of this tomorrow. So I hope this was helpful. I want to thank John and Cory, because this is a lot of information and a lot of it's like this, to me, this is like doing taxes. So it's confusing, and but I feel a little more, you know, I have a little more understanding around it, and we appreciate your time tonight, guys, and this beautiful presentation you put together to match our beautiful website. So it's all going to work out. Everybody take a deep breath and get out, you know, get making and do as much as you possibly can. And don't forget that you have to populate your pages, and you have some other things, some other deliverables due. So check your email for some stuff from us that was sent out today. And oh, there's one question really quickly. I mentioned that Handmade Arcade wants information from makers post-event. Maybe provide a checklist of the data you want and how to find it. I can try to do that, Kristen, but I don't actually know yet exactly what I want. I will do my best to try to get that to you prior to the event, but I make no promises on that one. My to-do list is like 7,000 pages long at this point. So, but I will try. So that is all. Thank you so much, John and Cory. You guys have a great night. And thanks everyone for tuning in. And I will share this tomorrow on the website. So have a good evening, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, Cory. Bye.